Hi guys, I'm going to go over active and passive voice today. It's also called active and passive form. You might also see it be called active and passive sentences, but it's mostly called active and passive voice. And I'll probably switch through all three of those things throughout this video. So looking at the active voice, it's the most commonly used form, and it's when the subject of the sentence completes an action. So it's when the subject does something. So for example, you could have I opened the gate. So you've got your subject, that is simply the noun that comes before the verb in your sentence. So it's usually the first noun that you mention in your sentence. So you've got your subject, you've got the verb, and you've got the object as well. So the subject of this sentence is a person performing the action of opening a gate. It's as simple as that. That is in the active voice. Someone is doing something, and you mention the someone first. The passive voice, however, would flip that around. So the subject of the sentence will not be doing the action. Okay, so that first noun that you mention in your sentence won't be doing anything. Instead, the person or the thing that is having something done to it will be mentioned first. So your subject will be the noun that is having something done to it instead. So for example, going back to the gate example, you'd have the gate was opened by me. So you've still got your subject, so you've got a noun that comes before your verb, you've got your verb, and you've got the object as well. So the subject of this sentence is the gate, and it is being opened by a person. The gate itself isn't doing anything, and it's definitely not doing the verb in your sentence. Okay, so the gate is before the verb, but it's not doing the verb. So what's the actual difference? So in your active voice, you had I opened the gate. In the passive voice, you've got the gate was opened by me. So you've got your subject, which is I, and the gate, which comes before your verb, which is opened in both of the sentences. So looking specifically at the active voice sentence, I is your subject. It's the noun that comes before your verb. I is doing the action of opening something. I is opening. I is doing the verb in that sentence. Looking at the passive voice, however, the gate is your subject. That's the noun that comes before your verb, and it is not opening something. The gate is not doing the verb in your sentence. Okay, that's what makes it the passive voice. And both of the sentences have got the object. So why would you use the passive voice? You'd use the passive voice when the action that is being done, or the person or the thing that the action is being done to, is more important, or you consider it to be more important and you want to emphasize it. So when you don't really need to know who has done the action. So you're not interested in talking about who's done the action, you want to talk more about what has happened. So for example, you might say, my sister kicked me. You've still got your subject and the action that's happening. So this sentence is the active voice. It's saying someone has hit you. So the subject is sister, the action is kicking, and you are the object. Me is the object. So looking at that, if you want to emphasize the action that was done to you, you would use the passive voice. So if you want to talk about the fact that you were kicked, the fact that you were hurt, more, and you want to emphasize that, or you want to emphasize that it happened to you, you would flip that sentence and you would use the passive voice. So for example, you might say, I was kicked by my sister. You could also just say, I was kicked. Both of those two are the passive voice, and they are sentences that make sense on their own. So you could say I was kicked by my sister, you could say I was kicked. They're both sentences. The person that hurt you comes last, or they're not even mentioned in your sentence at all. Okay, and that's because the person who hurt you isn't important in what you want to say. So if you're not interested in talking about who did it, and you want to talk more importantly about what happened to you, you would use the passive voice. Okay, but realistically, you're probably going to run around the house screaming, I was kicked by my sister! We know that. If you think about a passenger in a vehicle, they're getting the driving done for them. It doesn't necessarily matter who is driving. The passenger isn't doing the driving. Okay, so the passenger in the vehicle is getting the driving done for them. They are not doing it themselves. If you think about a passive sentence, it's when the subject has something done to it or for it. It's not doing it itself, okay? And it doesn't necessarily matter who is doing the action in that sentence. So the passenger isn't doing the driving, doesn't really matter who's doing the driving. Passive form, the subject isn't doing the verb, doesn't really matter who is doing the verb. necessarily. Can you think of any other points or any other cases where you might use the passive voice? If you do think of something, or if you've got any questions, or if you're slightly confused, or you've got requests for the future videos, please do get in touch. Make sure you ask an adult to get in touch for you if you are contacting us via Facebook on facebook.com/newbieprimary, or if you're using our Twitter, which is @newbieprimary, or you could just email us using the year group email address that was given to you in your home learning packs. In any case, make sure you stay safe, make sure you keep learning, make sure you have fun. Thank you for watching. Bye.